Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Greetings, Brother Nashi. I hope that I find you well. I want to share my confession with your listeners. Brother Nashi, can you please post my story as anonymous? And if you can, please change my voice note. And if you are able to translate it with your voice, I think that it will be okay for me so as to keep my identity hidden. Brother Nashi, I am a woman who is aged 31 and I am few days left for me to become 32. My brother, I am a woman who was raised in a polygamous family. My father, who is late, he had 2 wives, and my mom happened to be the second wife to my father. I was raised, let me say that my mother was a woman who was not okay. She was someone who was really rude, not knowing if this was a spirit or a demonic thing, because the way that my mother is so rude, it is very irritating. Whenever you are with her, she is always rude. She even gets rude at people that are not even in her space. Instantly, she will become rude towards that person before she can even understand what that person will be trying to say. My mother has so much bitterness. So my mom was the second wife, and like you know that in a polygamous family there is always jealousy. So when my mother got married to my father, then the first wife to my father, she then started to be so bitter towards my mother, saying that my mother, she was a woman who had came to steal and to destroy, but my father had lied to my mother. Maybe that is the reason as to why my mother is so rude and bitter. Maybe she was trying to protect herself when she found herself being the second wife. But anyway, my father's first wife, she was a woman who was very prayerful. Even if you see the children that she gave birth to, they are well trained and they are very decent. Not for me, my brother. In our family, we are 5, but all of us, my brother, we have nothing to show up for ourselves because of the way that our mother treated us. Above all, I can say that maybe I am the worst because I then took that character that my mother had. Right now, I am struggling to keep a man, because if someone that I'll be dating does something funny, instantly what I'll say is that I cannot continue with this relationship anymore. And after dumping the men that I'll be dating at that time, I'll start to regret, and instantly I'll start threatening that man. There are so many times that I even think of killing the person that I would have dumped. I don't know where this spirit is coming from. And whenever I look at myself, the same way that I get irritated whenever I am with my mother, that is the same way another man told me. He said that you are very rude and you are very arrogant and you are so irritating, because I was scrolling over his phone, and the way that I was scrolling over his phone, even though I knew that he was that type of a man who was not the cheating type, but the way that I was just snooping all over his phone, I pushed him into a corner until he reacted. And after he had reacted, that was when I told him that I didn't love him anymore, because he was cheating on me, even though there was no evidence at all. And when I am busy insulting someone, it is like there is a spirit that comes over me, and I can't stop myself from saying whatever word that comes first into my mind. I can even threaten someone with death. I don't know, my brother, how will I ever be able to get rid of this demonic spirit? Let me go back a little bit in the past. So my grandmother, there are some things that she did to my mother, and I suspect that this is where all of this arrogancy and rudeness is coming from, because my mother, there were ancestors that said were upon her life, and those ancestors, there were a ceremony that was supposed to be performed for them, so that by the time that she will get married, she will not have any problems staying with her husband. So the spirit that is upon my mother's life, it is said to be the spirit of her late great-grandfather. So as a man, whenever my mother was with my father, then there was always that fighting that was happening between the spirit of my mother's great-grandfather and my father, because what was happening was that my late mother's great-grandfather was saying, how can you take me to bed, yet I am a man? So the ceremony that was supposed to be performed on my mother was such that the late great-grandfather of my mother, he had to accept that my mother as a woman, she was bound to get married. So my mother never got that chance to have a ceremony performed upon her life before her marriage. This was supposed to be done, but my grandmother, she demanded that my mother get married after my mother had been seen walking around with my father. Then that was how my mother was forced into that marriage before the ceremony could be performed upon her life. So the way that my mother is so bitter and arrogant, you can even see that it is really spiritual. She is that type of a woman who can fight with a man. Even when my father was still alive, it was like my father was scared of my mother, because my mother, the way that she fights, you can see that there is another spirit that gives her so much power. Back in the village, when we were still growing up, it was like each and every woman in the village was just afraid of my mother. And my mother, she is that type of a woman who is talkative and she is a bully. Everyone is just afraid of her. Wherever she goes, she wants to show everyone that she can be that kind of a woman who can do whatever she wants. And unfortunately, my brother, the same character that I can see in my mother, that same irritating character, that is the same character that I have right now. I am not married and I do not have a child yet, because what happens is that when I am dating someone, the moment that I'll be sleeping with whomever I'll be dating at that time, when the man is about to produce, sometimes I can even push him to the side because I'll feel so irritated. I do not want any man to leave his semen inside my body. That is the way that I am. I have been fighting with this for a very, very long time. Even if it happens that a man will overpower me whilst we are sleeping together, then he will leave his seed in my body. Still, my brother, I will feel so irritated that I'll start fighting with that man. I don't know where I get the power from, but right now, my brother, I feel that I have reached a point in my life where I think that I need to get married and to have a child. But all the men that I have dated, I end up beating them. And each and every man that I have dated, it doesn't matter if he is very powerful or if he has a very big body, but when it comes time for us to fight, it's either I can pick up anything that will be close by. I do not even care if it will be a beer bottle. I don't care if it will be a dangerous weapon or anything. So the men that I'll be dating, when we are being violent towards each other, most of them, they will just let it go, because there was a man who said that when I wanted to hit you, I saw your eyes changing as if you were possessed, and I felt so much fear in my body, and I was afraid that if I was going to hit you, you were going to kill me. This thing has been happening over and over again, and I am tired. I know that my behavior is irritating, but I am not capable of handling just a simple relationship. The moment that someone proposes love to me and I say yes, we can date, from that very same day, each and every minute, I'll keep on checking on that person. I have that deep fear that he's going to cheat on me, and this fear, my brother, it drives me really crazy. what I have done in the past is that I once dated another man who was staying in another location. For me to get to that location, I had to use 2 taxis, but there was one night when he didn't pick up my call in time. He tried to explain the situation to me, but I could not believe him. I said, it is fine, I am going to sleep. But I didn't go to sleep, my brother. I got onto the last taxi. By the time that I got into town, it was already late, and there was no transport that could take me to that location where my boyfriend was staying at that time. So I walked on foot. I walked for 2 hours, my brother, and when I arrived at his place, it was 10 p.m. I banged on his door because in my mind, as I was walking, I kept on telling myself that he is cheating on me, and if I find out that he is cheating on me today, I am going to end his life. He was even afraid when he opened the door for me, because I jumped into the room and I switched on the light, because I had this idea that him not picking up my calls, it was because he was with someone. But to my surprise, he was not with anyone. I don't know how to control this anger and these emotions that I feel all at once. Dear listeners, right there was a voice note that we received. Then we had to get it translated. Strange things do happen